Hello, my friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
And isn't this gorgeous out here?
Well, it is. The sky is beautiful and it's pretty blue, which is nice. Boy, we sure do love traveling and just getting out in nature. And I don't think people, on the whole, do enough of it. Think about how our ancestors used to really live in harmony with the land. Like one thing that we have been doing, which we didn't do when we're not in the situation we are now, we're basically camping. One thing we didn't do, which we are getting into the habit of, is basically starting to go to bed when it gets dark.
Yeah.
And, when the sun comes up, we get up. Think about that. Think about, how the nature's cycles are something that we have disconnected from as a society because, obviously all the quote unquote conveniences that we have. But, some of these conveniences, they disrupt the natural orders of things. And when you're out in nature, and especially when you're pretty remote, it just is a chance to reset your own personal cycle. Get yourself back in harmony with, Mother Nature and the natural world. When you look at like the birds flying around, they don't have any worries.
Mm-mm.
Jesus actually talked about that as well. He said that, do you think the birds worry about what's going to happen tomorrow? Are they worried about their food tomorrow? Well, there's a lot of worry in this world. I was watching Christian over Ice Age Farmer, and he was talking about what's going on with African swine flu now in Germany, for instance. And so what's their response? They're stopping all agriculture. There's so many things that if we just look at it, we could see that this world does not make sense if it's a society that's set up to take care of its own people and all the animals and, live in harmony with nature and revere and honor nature, respect nature. Our society is just not set up that way. It's totally, totally different. It's basically, you could see it when you look at armies that have taken over areas and then they just rob all the natural resources in the area. And if perhaps they are forced to leave, what do? It's like a scorched earth policy. We could see, the pattern that comes from above as kingship was handed to us from above. And it's not a good one. It's not a good one. Honestly, when you're out in nature, and like today our practice today, we went a couple hours, I think. We really had a really great deep practice of QiGong, mantras, meditation. And we did go a couple hours. It was awesome. It doesn't feel out here like there's anything wrong in the world.
Right.
It really doesn't. It feels like everything's wonderful. Everything is as it should be. And then when we see what's happening in society, and with especially the leadership of this society, it's so disconcerting. It's so disconcerting.
Extremely. What I noticed today when we were doing our practice, our meditation, and our mantras is that they do a very good job at keeping the brain busy, keeping the brain worried, keeping the brain looking to the future and wondering what's going to happen next, where what we really need to do is find a place where we can relax our brains, let them make those connections they need to make so that they can heal. And with all of these technologies, they have us going back and forth and to and from, and it doesn't give us any time at all to heal. And, that's part of their plan, is to keep us in a state of disarray so that we can't find our center, so that we're constantly looking for answers because it's just too busy to go within. And they use our egos and, they use our natural... I feel humans are a little bit lazy, and they tend to use that to control us too with all these conveniences.
Yeah, and we know what's coming soon. It's going to be a case of if you want to be part of society, you're going to have to do this, this, and this. And you guys could fill in those words, and we know what they are. It's all part of a plan, a bigger plan, and it's just complete domination. It is every bit Orwellian. Just like 1984, or if you remember the movie V for Vendetta, that's exactly what we're facing, is that type of system. And it's kind of scary to realize just how bad it is. Can we take our leadership seriously? Hell no. We know that they're all bought and paid for, and that's one of the things we have to realize. As they are trying to just, again, stir us up against each other, we have to recognize that. And when I look at, like, Twitter, for instance, and I see so many people that are just absolutely, totally asleep, they don't have a clue. They don't have a clue of what's going on with the manipulation. And, it's sad that there's still so much of the population. We used to make fun. We used to look at the Soviet system. I'll say Soviet instead of Russian. Or, you could look at the modern Chinese system now, the CCP system, and, think, wow, those poor people don't have any choice. But we really don't have a choice either. The selections have been going on for a very long time. I can't believe that people can't see just how scripted all this is. It's perfectly scripted. And so they give the script, and again, the ugly actors go to DC and the good-looking ones go to Hollywood. But again, they're actors. They're playing a role. And, there was a young lady in Colorado, I think it was, I was reading about, who is running for office, who, basically her business was being hammered. She had a restaurant. And Colorado, by the way, is really beautiful. We've enjoyed being in the Colorado area and Utah as well. And, I think I'm up to 38 states now. And I don't think I'll ever get Hawaii in, but maybe we could get to Alaska at some point in time. That would be cool to get like 49 states. It is an eye-opener when you go through these different states and you see their natural beauty. There's some similarities from place to place, but then there are differences and the different vibe, the different energies. But this lady, what she did was she defied, the orders on COVID, and, they ended up basically taking away her business license. So now she's running against them on a against them platform. Now, that's good. I think that's really good. There's also a gentleman that was born in the Gallup, New Mexico area that's a Navajo Nation resident that is also running for election. He's actually running for president. Why are people constantly picking the two little parties that get us in trouble? The Democrats and Republicans, it's two sides of the same coin, completely. Just look at how things have gone from, going back through Trump and then Obama and then going back through both Bushes and the Clintons. It's just been a one-way highway to hell, basically. That's what we're on. It doesn't matter which one of those is in power. Again, the corporations, if you look at the donations from the corporations, they give to both. And they are hedging their bets. They're covering it. And when we talk about the CCP, it really shouldn't even be Chinese Communist Party because nobody's sharing equally in that system. It's fascist. So we got to recognize that we are turning into a global fascist society. So what is fascism? Well, it's all about, corporate control. And the United States is a corporation since the Banking Act of 1871. And I know a lot of people don't realize that, and then there's those that realize that, but they don't let it sink in. We're a corporation under British maritime law. So in effect, who really controls the world? Well, Britannia, in a way, because they've used the United States to be the policeman. But really, it's these same families. It keeps going back to the same families. And, that's something we have to recognize. And we have to directly send our energies of we will not consent to these, the ones that are really in power. How do we do that? Well, right now, everywhere you go, it says, with cash, they don't have coins. There's a national coin shortage. Isn't that convenient? And then something will happen. Maybe, COVID can spread through money, right? So we got to get rid of cash now. And you hang on to your card and you just, whatever, not even necessarily touch anything. They'll figure out things to basically lock us down even more. And you won't be able to function in society. You won't be able to buy anything. I mean, it's exactly Book of Revelations, which is exactly a blueprint that they're using to manifest this reality that we see.
Yeah, and what they're doing to kind of manifest that is they're using our busyness or our busy lifestyles kind of as a cover so that we're not really able to stop and recognize really what's happening. We're just too busy. Most parents I know out there, most people I know out there are so busy working, they don't have time to stop and dig up information and find out the truth. They're trying to figure out how are they going to get meals on the table. They're trying to figure out how are they going to pay rent, how are they going to pay their next bills, how are they going to get kids to school in the morning because maybe their car broke down. And it's just this constant loop of worry, of messiness. And while we're busy just trying to survive, now they're going to slide all this stuff into our lives under the guise of convenience.
Exactly. Getting people used to things. Like we were watching a video. We've seen two videos come out of Australia, which are absolutely disgusting. One was arresting a lady in her own home who was pregnant for a Facebook post. And it wasn't like she was inciting people to riot. She was inciting people to speak up and wake up, which we can't have that, obviously, in a totalitarian system. And then another lady was dragged out of her car because she had like a phone holder in a spot where she wasn't supposed to. So you have four MPs or whatever they were, policemen, not MPs, but just policemen, constables, I guess you would say, still in Australia maybe. Just literally drag her by the legs out of the car. Because of that, what they are doing, Cindy said it right away, what they're doing is they're conditioning people to expect it. This is what they're doing. They're conditioning people to see it and to accept it as the new norm. And we have a lot of family members in Australia. They're just wonderful people. I think the people of Australia, are great people. But when you look at it, Australia and Canada, so much of that land, as I've said before, is owned by the Crown. Again, it goes back to England. And it goes back to the royalty. It goes back to a few families. It's amazing that you have these two immense countries with so much of the world's land, so few people in these countries. Granted, Canada's pretty cold, but at the same time, people live in Scandinavia as well. And when you look at the amount of land that is owned by the Crown, that's just ridiculous. Why are things so expensive in those two places? Well, it's because it's made to be that way. Because they don't want people there, basically. They really don't want it to be fully populated. They're holding onto it for themselves, the royalty, the aristocracy, the blue bloods that we could talk about. And, I was going to make another video on why do they intermarry so much? What is this thing about intermarrying? Is it perhaps completely a genetic thing, keeping it in the family, keeping it among certain, lines of descendancy? Very interesting stuff,
Yeah.
very interesting stuff. So just some thoughts, guys, on everything that's happening today, and just wanted to share a little peaceful nature with you. Man, if you could just smell how good the trees smell after being in so much pure desert with nothing around, no trees. It's just so lovely to sit under a few pine trees and just take a nice whiff of clean air.
It's absolutely gorgeous. And we do want to extend our appreciation and our thanks for being part of our family on Patreon and Ko-Fi. We really, truly couldn't do it without you because they're doing as much as they can to keep us from spreading the good word. So thank you so much, you guys.
As always, guys, stay safe, God bless, and namaste.
Namaste.